Remind me, how long has the brand been around? Was it about 24, 25 years ago that you
Yeah.
started?
Yeah, so I started the brand 24 years ago with negative $20 in my Washington Mutual checking account. And it was pretty much just me. I was working for another big, what they call juniors. It's kind of fast fashion before fast fashion was fast fashion. And
Mhm.
was working for a junior retailer as a designer. And I just knew I didn't like corporate world. And I knew that I wanted to have my own business. And so started it by making embellished Grateful Dead T-shirts and made them into dresses and selling them. And actually, Paris Hilton was one of my first customers to ever wear one of my dresses, and she wore a Grateful Dead embellished T-shirt dress to the That's Hot Awards on VH1, and it was like exploded. So
And I know in our previous conversation, you said that celebrity PR was one of the early or one of the biggest things that really drove growth for you early on. So it sounds like Paris Hilton. Who else did you have wearing the
yeah.
clothes?
I had Angelina Jolie where one of I used to take kimonos and chop them off, and so she wore one of them back in 2003 on the Jay Leno show. Sharon Stone, Shakira wore one of my dresses. It was legitimately just like a bunch of patchwork that I had cut up um, and beaded, and she wore that on the cover of Bazaar magazine. And I mean, it was, you name it, Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson. And it was all just things that I had like vintage clothing that I took and then reworked it. And it was kind of the eco before eco was eco. So then that just, catapulted into actually manufacturing clothing of that was very vintage inspired or, embellished and had some sort of fun and happiness to it.
Yeah, and I know vintage clothing can be popular. How do you go about product development? Like, do you listen to feedback from customers or look into trends, or what kind of vision guides the product development?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because feedback, obviously, from the customers is really like that's really at the core of what I do. And so, pretty much, I really want to make clothing for women that make them feel sexy, feel beautiful, comfortable. I don't want them to be at a party or out and about and they feel like they can't move or they can't eat anything. So, customer feedback is really at the core of our brand. But also too, when I start creating things, I always find myself that I'm a little bit ahead of my time and creating things that I think it's amazing and I'll create it. And then 2 years from now, it'll be like the hottest thing. So I'm very forward and I always try to push the envelope as far as creating, but I don't subscribe to any trend services. I used to read a lot of magazines, but now I find myself really tuning out all of the background noise and just really focusing on what I feel in my heart is going to sell and that will also really connect with my customer. So I'll test something. We always test something first before we actually go into mass market and produce it, and see what the reaction is. Um, and and as far as the fit and coming up with what that actual product is going to be, where we actually take it into like that next level mass marketing, is just all based on buyer feedback. And if it sells at the end of the day, if you can make the most beautiful clothing in the world, but if no one's buying it, you have a hobby business. You don't really have a legitimate business. So that's what I've found is kind of been at the core of when I create things is she has to just feel amazing wearing it or she's not going to ever wear it and she's never going to come back and buy anything from you again. So
Yeah, I know there was a popular clip from a Rick Rubin interview that went around. A producer, I think is technically what he is. He does a lot, but where he said people don't know what type of music they want to hear. You just have to create what you know that they will eventually like. How do you go about doing product testing before you go mass market with things?
I mean, really, my website has always been a real
Gotcha.
testing ground. So we test things. I have a tried and true, like a little bit of a cult following with some I call my fabulistas, and I'll throw it out there and I'll wear it. I'll wear it around. I just launched this new jumpsuit that I found out by trial and error. I mean, everyone loves the design, but the fit is horrible. And so, it's not that I'm giving up on it, but now I'm, sending it out and having a size extra small wear it and a size 3X wear it and really figure out what is the next future for this jumpsuit, because it actually was a jumpsuit that I based off of one of my best selling dresses. So the top, and then I just added on a pair of pants, and I really love it, and I do believe in it, and I'm not giving up on it. But you're not always going to win the first time you try something. And that's the one thing, is like, you really have to test and test, and trial and error, and learning from what went right and learning from what went wrong. So right now I'm in that, okay, how do we make this vision that I have of having the perfect short sleeve jumpsuit into the perfect jumpsuit that every woman's going to want to wear? And that's all it is, just testing.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, speaking of testing, I'm sure you've been in business for 25 plus years, right? I'm sure there's been a lot of adaptation and evolution to your marketing that you do as well. Just kind of give me a vision behind like how things have changed for you from day one. What was priority? What were you focusing on to where you are now with the brand?
Yeah, it's interesting because as far as the messaging, that's not changed. It's all been the same. And I think when it comes to making women feel special, making women feel like they're part of a fun, happy, fabulous community, making feel that there's a designer that is out there that's got their back and that's going to create something for them that they love to wear and is going to make them feel beautiful. That's always been the constant. But what I've noticed over the last 25 years is, we used to, okay, which magazine are we going to try to get into this month? And then it went to, okay, we're not advertising in magazines because no one advertises in magazines anymore. Is it to, okay, which online influencer, which online blog can we get onto that's going to really, take it to the next level? And then that wasn't a thing anymore. And now it's back to celebrities and trying to get them to wear it. But, you got to pay to play on that avenue. And so just finding new creative ways, whether it's digital advertising, which has been like a roller coaster, because, you can throw a lot of money at advertising and putting that in front of someone's face. But if you don't have the right product that's going to like hook them and some kind of creative way to get them to click on it and actually purchase, then you're going to waste a lot of money. And that's
Yeah.
one thing I've learned in the last 5 years with this whole digital advertising world, is like, it's some expensive learning, and you don't really know, like, you get into it and then you're like, oh, this is great. And then you don't know until 6 months later that you just burn $500,000. And so it's been really eye-opening and an expensive learning lesson for digital advertising, which I feel is like where it's at now. But
Mhm.
what's the next,
Yeah. And it's interesting that you said you went from celebrity PR to, online influencers and then looking for the next thing there. I was doing a little research and saw in an article that was published in 2020, I believe. One of your first steps into e-commerce was through an influencer that actually got one of your pieces of clothing. I believe it was a dress, Sarah Buckley, and then wore it on her socials, and it kind of blew things up for you. Is that right?
Yeah, she's not necessarily a fashion influencer. She went viral because she talked on her TikTok or one of her social media channels about women, and after they have children, why they have to go back into the workplace. That there's this pressure to go back, and she was wearing one of my dresses, and it was very organic. Where she wants to get into fashion, and I want to learn more about how to speak to my audience. And so we partnered up and we did this big photo shoot in Las Vegas where she lives, and pretty much like honing in on "you're not the worst mom," and which is her handle. And you can still be a mom and you can still want to be and look fabulous. And she taught me a lot about really speaking to your audience. And you don't have to be a 18-year-old young girl in the cute hottest new fast fashion. There's an audience for everybody. And I think that's one thing that I did learn about, and learning about how my audience has evolved. And what she taught me was, there's somebody out there for everybody, and be authentic. And, it's okay to be, I'm middle-aged, and speaking to your audience, that those are the people that are really buying my clothes. And so that was a really great partnership. And I love her to death. She knows her customer. She knows who they are, and she speaks really well to them. And I think that's the one thing that I learned from her was just, go after them.
And have you pursued any partnerships like that since that first partnership?
I haven't, just because, and we get people all the time hitting me up going, "Hey, I want to be an influencer," like, "Oh, hashtag ad," those people. And for us, what's really authentic to our brand, my brand, is not doing that. I think
Mm.
that's why it worked with her, was because she's not a fashion influencer, but her audience really enjoyed seeing her outside of her box, not in the sweats, talking about real mom things. They liked seeing her getting dressed up and dolled up. I guess it's a lie, because I have been working with a DJ recently, which she's also not very big, and doesn't. Sorry, she's not very big in pushing fashion.
Mhm.
She's a very talented DJ. She's amazing. She's working with some of the most top DJs in the world. But as far as fashion, that doesn't come naturally for her. So she's had, some of her most viral posts have been all of her customers, the people that follow her, going, "Wow, you look amazing. You need to be dressing up more. You need to be wearing, we all like aspire to be you. And we love that you're not wearing a t-shirt and jeans. We love that you are out there pushing the envelope with fashion." And so I've seen, where I've seen a lot of success with, quote, influencers, or people that, are not necessarily fashion people, but they're getting out of their box, and they're stepping out into some other kind of spotlight where, they're seeing success. And that has helped me, where to see some of that success as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting mix, because it's almost as if people are trusting it even more just because they know that that person is not, their business or their engine is not just showing them clothes, right? It's like this is genuinely what they like wearing, and you're just happening to capture a moment where they're wearing that and see it that way.
Yeah, 100%. And then I guess that's what I would say about that is, I've never really believed in the influencer world, but like organic influencers, people that, you know, really do. You can see the joy that they feel when they put on a dress, or you can see the joy that they feel when they put on a fabulous pair of earrings and something that they would not normally wear. And it not necessarily makes their art better, but it just, you can see that. And that's the authenticity that you can, that you get, that actually, like, people are, "Oh, wow, I want to feel that too." So it's been really cool.
Yeah, I love that. And, that's, I'm kind of reaching it with this segue here, but that's a type of creative, right? Creative is becoming more and more important. It's always been important, but it's becoming more and more important online. And I know you were talking earlier about like what's next, what's the next focus. Where's your mindset with creative, and how do you go about determining what type of content or what type of creative you want to put across paid ads or across organic social or email or website?
Well, it's funny. I was just on a call with my marketing team, before I got on this call, and that's the conversation we have every week. And they're in the mindset that we have to do what everyone else is doing. Like, okay, so it's working for them. Let's do that. That's what's
Mm.
going to sell. And I've always felt that, okay, I'm going to swim against the stream, because if everyone's going that way, why am I going to go when it's just the market's flooded and everybody's doing the same thing? Like, okay, why don't we try to do something different? And when we have done something that's completely different, that's not expected, is when we have seen success. So I created these crazy sunglasses a couple years ago, and I actually just did it because I wear crazy sunglasses all the time. And I'd have customers or people that'd be like, "Oh my God, where'd you get those sunglasses? I really want them." And I was like, "Well, I made them, it's just glued on gemstones onto the frame." And I had so many people that were like, "We really want that." So I tested it and put it on my website, and I had no idea that it was going to explode to the way that it did. And it was almost like not a good thing, because I didn't realize that when you have sunglasses in everywhere, they're considered a medical device, and there's all these rules and regulations that you have to follow, and I didn't know. And so all of a sudden, I had to dial it back, and now you know I'm having conversations with the FDA and all these things. So it was like a blessing in the disguise. But what I learned from that is, like, if you put something out there that's totally different, like we made this digital ad. It was just a GIF, rotating GIF of all of just the product shots, and they were just crazy sunglasses, and it said, "Pop the bubbly, it's a party on your face." So simple, easy,
Mhm.
spoke to them, spoke to the girl. And the next thing I know, I'm getting bombarded with pictures of every bachelorette party in Vegas, every party the girls are going to, and all the parties are all wearing them. And it was an amazing experience, but I learned a lot because, and there's certain things where, okay, that would have been a different product where you don't have the FDA breathing down your neck going,
Yeah.
you can't really do that. So that's been an interesting lesson, but it was, everyone's going this way and I make sure to go that way. And I'm constantly battling with the marketing department as far as, okay, well, this is, these are the trends. You have to do Black Friday on, the beginning of the month, not on Black Friday because people have already spent their money. So just trying to like hear the noise a little bit, but going,
Mhm.
okay, that's what everyone's doing. Okay, I'll go a little bit, but I need to do it a little bit differently. The messaging has to be a little bit differently. You have to somehow pull on their heartstrings and make them want to spend their money with you rather than, somebody that has more marketing dollars than you or it's a bigger company.
For sure. And so that case in specific, the creative, you had the glasses. I'm trying to just fully wrap my head around that because it sounds like an awesome victory besides the FDA part. When people were discovering that, were you running that as a paid ad? Was that just organic content on like TikTok or Instagram? Where was that traffic or impression coming from?
Yeah. So, and actually, I just recently gone. I'm not really on TikTok. I've recently been was like, you have to get on it, which I hate this idea that I'm going to be on TikTok, but I'm doing it and slowly. That was all through Facebook
Oh,
marketing,
wow.
Instagram.
Okay.
Started
Huh.
out as organic and creating content, and it was my core Fabulista cult followers that were buying them, and then their friend tells a friend and their friend tells a friend. And the next thing I know, it's like, you need to have an ad around this. So we came up with the party on your face concept. And yeah, it did. It went viral. It was awesome. It was something that, I learned a lot from. And now how do what's that next product that we're going to create that gets that same attention? So another thing that what I did when I created the Grateful Dead collection was, and this has been interesting, this Grateful Dead world. They're very hardcore fans, and everybody that's in the Grateful Dead or Dead and Company and jam band world, they will buy anything that you put in front of their face if it's cool. And so
I was going to say, sorry, I could also see them being very critical, not because they're deadheads, just because normally when people are very occult to something, they are very hypercritical or hyper observant.
that's what I was going to get to. So I when I started creating this collection, I joined every single Grateful Dead, Dead and Co, jam band um, Facebook group, just to, I want to learn more. I really wanted to dive into the culture and dive into their community. And I joined them, and it was 2 weeks before we launched it. And I posted a picture. I mean, I was doing photo shoots at Shakedown Street, which is like at a show and it's a festival. They had no idea who I was. And I was doing photo shoots. And so I posted some pictures on every single one of the Grateful Dead fan pages. And you wouldn't believe how much hate because they made it go viral. I didn't make it go viral. There was so much hate. I had death threats. I had people that were, who is this girl? She's not a real deadhead. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. And they blocked me. And because they blocked me, then people were commenting. I mean, it went viral because they made it go viral because of how much hate I got. And it also increased my sales. So there is something to be said about hate, and because they don't realize every time you comment on an ad or every time that you engage with an ad, it's changing the algorithm to service who's ever paying to put it in front of you. And so that was one thing I learned. And I recently had someone reach out to me and say, hey, I can get you back in the groups. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to be back because it's actually serviced my business better. I mean, yeah, personally it was upsetting, but this is a big business. I'm not taking it personally. That's been something to watch. The negative has actually been a positive, and
Hmm.
everybody commenting on the ads, oh, this isn't, you're not a real deadhead, no one would ever wear this. Well, there is a big, the deadheads were all in college when Grateful Dead was around, and now those college kids all have money and they want to buy and they want to support. And so a lot of these deadheads have no problem spending $300 on a button down blouse or $150 on a silk scarf, which yes, there is the core people that travel and they literally sell grilled cheese to get to the next venue, but there's
Mhm.
a big community of deadheads that have a lot of money to spend on whatever that has a dancing bear or the Grateful Dead Steely on it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's one thing we've seen with clients in the past as well, is when it's a super niche product, the comments can become a little hot on the ads that way. And you're right, it does in a degree kind of boost the ad performance because it's showing the algorithm that people want to comment on it, right? Do you find yourself wanting to, or do you try to filter comments, or do you just let them run?
Well, in the beginning, I found myself. I mean, I always take the high road. So if you have something to say about my face or whatever I'm doing, thank you. Have a fabulous day. Thank you. I'm so grateful for your comment. But Warner Music, we have to technically hide the comments
Mhm.
with if we're doing a collab with a big company like that, they have certain rules and things like we can't run the music. Like a lot of people that were saying, well, I don't understand, why would you have non-Grateful Dead music on a Grateful Dead ad? Well, I don't have the rights to use their music. So,
Mhm.
if I have a business account, there's just so many things that people don't really, from the outside world, they don't really
Mhm.
realize what's going on behind the scenes. But yeah, we needed to filter the comments out or hide them. And it's been a really interesting journey. I'm excited to see what comes for 2.0 because of all the hate that we got. We became Deadhead famous, which is
Mhm.
wild. There was one lady who posted a picture on Facebook in my outfit, the head to toe Grateful Dead outfit, and it had over 15,000 comments and over 1,200 shares. And then we ran a pop up ad. So people clicked on it, and there was a pop up that said, okay, this collection is coming out in 2 weeks. Would you like to sign up for the newsletter? And because their fans are so, fanatic, in 1 week, we had 4,500 signups just on the attentive pop up,
Oh, wow.
which is, I know, it's pretty sensational. Like, this whole has taught me so much about marketing, and you just have to really put something in the right place at the right time, which is hard to do, and then wait for it to just.
Go. Yeah, and one thing that may be helpful or beneficial as well, you can go into your Facebook page and you can go to settings, and then there's somewhere with comments, and you can upload a CSV file or just type in words or long tail keywords that will be automatically blocked. So if somebody tries to comment something that says stupid shirt or hate this or something, it'll make it look like to them that it posts, but nobody else will be able to see it. So that's kind of like a proactive way that can help eliminate a lot of that garbage as well.
Because I have a customer service girl that all she does is just monitor
Really.
the comments, and we're not running. Technically, we're not really running any Grateful Dead ads until right now, just because the dust has settled a little bit with this last collection. But when we start getting ready to launch the next one in a few months, she just sits there and monitors comments and responds, and you know, and makes sure that there's nothing out there that wouldn't be that the band would not want to be representative of the band.
For sure. And have you ventured into shops like TikTok or Facebook shops at all? Or are you still driving most of your revenue through the store?
So I just downloaded the TikTok store on my phone last week.
Mhm.
So that's something that I'm going to start doing. But we do have a Facebook shop and have seen tremendous success from that. At first, we were, well, should we reorganize it and make it look good? Well, no, because the shop only puts the things that people really engage with in front of their face. So we've seen a tremendous success from Facebook shop and the Instagram shop recently, which has been great because a lot of people don't know, you shop on the Instagram shop, they'll give you an extra 10% or 20%
Mhm.
of what you're purchasing. So even though I don't discount it, if you purchase it through Instagram, they'll discount it for you, which has been great.
Yeah. And if I understand correctly, a good portion or a big focus for your brand is actually wholesale through channels like Nordstrom or other retailers. Is that right?
That's correct. historically, my Nordstrom has always been my biggest customer. I started working with them 22 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was just getting into them. I had to have a creative strategy how to get attention of the buyers, and I hosted a tea party for them in a showroom, and they wrote the whole line. And the next thing I knew, I was traveling around through all the Nordstrom stores, yeah, doing in-store appearances, which is really great for the brand because it established with their business. So yeah, the biggest portion of our business is through wholesale channels, Saks, Macy's, Nordstrom. So that's great because it's all just, drop ship, order comes in, we ship it from our warehouse. It's great.
Oh, so you mean like technically through their e-commerce, or are you also in store? You're also in store?
We are in some brick and mortar stores,
Mhm.
but the majority of our customer base through these department stores is through e-commerce.
Oh,
And
wow.
people don't realize it. Like Nordstrom, most of their business is now direct to consumer.
Hmm.
Brick and mortar is like a fancy showroom where you can come and return your thing that you bought online, but for the most part, um, people are shopping online now.
Yeah, and that retail piece is something I'm honestly not too familiar with because I mainly stay on the D2C side with things. Is your process for product development or anything in the overall creation process different for B2B versus D2C, or do you find it to be very similar?
It's the same. I mean, it's the same product I'm offering. Um, and listening to customer reviews, listening to, okay, well, why? Anytime someone says they want to return something, I always, why? What is the reason, the fit? And then we'll take a tally at the end of every 6 months of like, okay, look at the returns for by product and what was the problem, the main problem, and then we just dive in and figure out, well, okay, how do we make this better? How do we improve our return rate? It's the same person that's shopping online as they are in the store. Just primarily, people are really gravitating towards D2C now in a major way.
Hmm. Yeah, and with that, looking ahead at the rest of this year and then 2024, what would you say your primary focuses are, your primary opportunities for marketing are?
For marketing is, you know, the Grateful Dead community really opened my eyes to bands and collaborating with bands because not only are you creating a product for that band, but you're also in doing so you are gaining the access to use their likeness. So we're really looking at 2024 as like, okay, what other bands can we work with that not only can we can create amazing product for, but in turn help elevate our brand into more well known. And that's where I think of like the celebrity of 2020 or 2004 2005 is now like, what other you know people likeness can we collaborate with? And you scratch my back, I scratch your back, I create great product, and we get to use your likeness to help elevate and the brand.
Yeah, I've seen the collaborations seem to have been big the past couple of years. I mean, I'm sure before that as well, but like Tiffany and Company, Nike, different brands are coming and making collaborations to see how they can, capture both audiences that way.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's opened up a whole new avenue of the possibilities and opportunities, like people that I never even thought would reach out to me and all of a sudden knew about the brand and said, well, we would love for you to create something fabulous for us. So that's been really awesome. And I'm really looking forward to 2024 as of like what, you know, there's some things I can't quite, let out the cat out of the bag yet, but it's going to be exciting to see where this goes. The fabulosity of elevating other people's product.
I love it. Well, if you had to summarize everything that we've discussed today into a marketing or business mindset, what mindset should listeners have?
It all comes down to authenticity and doing whenever you put something out of your brand into the world, is it has to be authentic. And I think people really resonate with authenticity. It's there's so many people doing the same thing or copying what other people are doing, but if you're doing something in a way that people are like, oh, I never thought of it that way, but that's really cool. Or, oh, I never thought of wearing that, but that's really great. Or that's fun. And pulling at people's heartstrings, and just showing that there's a personality to your product, and showing it in a different way that not necessarily is swimming the stream, is doing something different. I think that is where I've seen success, and I think a lot of other brands are really doing that too, is having that personal element and making something a little bit shinier, or in a different way that you wouldn't normally do.
And for anyone listening that's at the stage of figuring out what they'd like to do in the marketing industry, from your perspective, what marketing role or roles do you think will have the highest opportunity in the next 3 to 5 years?
Um, wow, that's a good question. So I've gone through so many digital marketing agencies where I saw this huge trend of, you get a digital marketing agency and they do it all for you, and there's a strategist, and there's someone that creates your emails, and somebody that creates your flows and your ads, and there's somebody, and you're on these big Zoom calls with all these people every week. But I really think that there's an opportunity for a marketing person to join a company and join a brand like myself. We're actually looking to hire somebody that actually eats, sleeps, and breathes that brand. And
Mm.
they are side by side, sitting next to me. They can speak the Meghan voice. They can speak the brand's voice. They understand the customer. I think when you're working at a big marketing agency, you only get an hour with that designer, that creative person every week. And so, you're kind of just, as a marketing person, following the trends of what is happening in the marketing. You're just reading what the LinkedIn stories are and what people are doing. But I really think there's a big opportunity for a marketing person that kind of can be a jack of all trades, that can create great email flows that speak the same language as an email campaign, the same language as the ads. And because that people, if they're going to jump into the funnel and buy something, they're buying something because they like the product, they like what the brand has to say. This brand actually has a voice, and will speak what they think. So I think a marketing person who really wants to, because there's been this big wave of marketing, would be to be part of a brand and eat, speak, and sleep this brand, and can get that message out successfully. I think that's where you're gonna see you know marketing people and brands being more successful. I have a handful of friends that work at agencies. They're like, well, what's next? Everyone's cutting ad dollars. People aren't spending money on these things anymore, because we've all hit a wall. Like, you're competing with other brands that have a $1 trillion ad budget, and there's no way that people are going to see my ads, and they're not performing. So what's next? I think really for a marketing person to be a part of a brand and understand how that brand, the core of that brand, and then getting that message out into the world, is where I think marketing people would see success.
I love it. And last question for you here. Tell us, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about yourself or your brand?
Yeah. My main source of me, I run my Instagram account, is Instagram. It's Meghan_Fabulous with an H, Meghan with an H. Our website is meghanfabulous.com. And we're also Facebook. It's at Meghan Fabulous is our main fan page. And, I'm out there. I'm trying to get out there on TikTok. TikTok's a hard one. I still haven't figured out, but I think that's going to be my next challenge is TikTok. But our website, meghanfabulous.com, is really the best place to see all things Meghan.
Well, Meghan, I appreciate you coming on today. This was a good episode.
Yeah. Thanks, Colby.